this is it. Here's the link for not the charity, but for the stream, so that you can let the people know. And obviously, the link for the fundraiser is in the chat, right? I think you guys set up a chat bot, right? We should do a command too, or is that exclamation mark donate? Okay, it's pinned. Okay, got it. Okay, can you please add a link to the donation page in the reply of your tweet? I'm gonna do that right now. Does Hassan fully believe that this is done for ethnic cleansing, similar to Nazi Germany, or people putting words in his mouth? What is happening in Gaza and what is happening in the West Bank since the inception of the state of Israel across history is purposeful ethnic displacement. This is not my assessment of the situation. I'm not alone in this. This is like what every historian has said as well. This is what Israeli historians also have said. It's not like, this is I don't understand. I don't really know what to do about that. It's like I feel like if you went to serious academics, okay, not DJ academics, but like actual, normal historians, you would find it hard to not come across that perspective that this is a ethnic displacement campaign. It is. Of course it is. I believe it like I believe water is wet. It's not a matter of like what I believe personally. Almost every single human rights organization on the planet, even Israeli sympathetic / funded ones, all say Israel is at the very least an apartheid state. This is absolutely ethnic displacement, if not genocide. It is a slow burn, but it is also the longest occupation and apartheid state maintenance on the planet. I mean, think about it this way. Apartheid South Africa had a shorter period of existence than the state of Israel and its apartheid structure, becoming significantly more aggressive. But yeah, it's the longest occupation, genocide, and apartheid. It's not even close. It's so flagrant and so apparent that I would say, whoa, what the hell? Oh, donation matching is when someone is matching all donations up to $500. Water isn't wet, buddy. First time I disagree with you. Well, I guess we're just going to be in disagreement then. So, I will give you some updates on what's going on. Israel gave evacuation orders with tens of thousands fleeing northern Gaza, and then Israel bombed some of those evacuees fleeing northern Gaza. This much is 100% something that happened yesterday. We covered it, but here, let's hear it from British media for once.
Tens of thousands of people have fled northern Gaza, and many still remain after the Israeli military gave them 24 hours to leave the area before it launches a major ground offensive.
They were ordered to
move south of the Wadi Gaza as Israeli troops prepare to hunt down and destroy Hamas, which is regarded as a terrorist.
Did Assange just raise 69 in 30 minutes? No, this is this community's own fundraiser that I just put together this morning. And we have already reached $70,000 in a matter of less than 30 minutes. Like, I've been live for 20 minutes so far. Like, I opened up the fundraiser link like literally less than 20 minutes ago. So yeah. If you want to know the link, I mean, I guess the easiest way to also go to it here, I'll put a panel as well. I'll put a donation URL panel underneath my it's pinned, but here, hold on. You can just like click on the panel underneath my live stream.
Around 1,900 people have died so far in Israeli airstrikes on Gaza, according to Palestinian officials. Limited raids in Gaza have already taken place, and there are reports that the bodies of some Israeli hostages have been recovered. The hostages were snatched a week ago by Hamas militants in raids which have left 1,300 people dead. Our reporter Nick Johnson has the latest details.
Fleeing for their lives. Those living in the north of the Gaza Strip heading south. 1.1 million people, roughly the same size as the entire population of Birmingham, were told by Israel they had 24 hours to leave their homes. It happened to our grandfathers. Now it's happening to us, Mohammed says. It's raising the ghosts of the past. The bombs still fall, tearing buildings and families apart. I want my daddy, this little girl cries. Israel says it's already launched some localized ground raids inside Gaza. While it readies its next move, a warning from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
We are striking our enemies with an unprecedented power. Our enemies have just begun to pay the price. I can't dive.
Yeah, the enemies we've also officially crossed the 100K boundary. Holy shit, so fast. It's incredible. Who are our enemies? Little babies, dude. Little kids living in the Gaza Strip. The greatest enemy of all, you know? You really got to look out for them babies. You know what I'm saying? Gotta watch out. 50% children, his enemies are.
Divulge what comes next, but I can tell you, this is just the beginning.
The UN Secretary General urged both sides to protect civilians.
Even wars have rules. International humanitarian law.
I don't understand what Israel is supposed to do when Hamas comes in and kills 1,000 of their people. That's a great question. One that has been asked many times over. It is literally not this, okay? There is no reaction from the militarized state that is currently occupying Palestinian land in the West Bank and also has an open-air prison in Gaza to turn around and behave this way, okay? It's just not. That is not. There's no revenge here, especially considering that violence that the Israeli citizens were subjected to is violence that has come from increasing militant action, increasing aggressive action, increasing the shackles of apartheid. So that is where that violence came from. That violence did not happen in a vacuum. Someone at a certain point has to stop the cycle of revenge, okay? And those who have the power to do so refuse to do that. They do the exact opposite. They only increase the conditions of violence. Yeah, and it's not even just like Israeli Jews living in Israel proper that are doing this. It's in most circumstances, donation match $1,000. Holy shit. It's not even Israeli Jews in Israel proper doing this. In many instances, it's Americans. It is evangelical Protestant Christians that create charities specifically for settlements. But there is no world in which collective punishment is reasonable or adequate, okay? If you understand that a baby living in a kibbutz in one of the southern towns does not deserve to be slaughtered, you should also feel the exact same way about a child living in Gaza proper, okay? Children are still children. This is preposterous. Imagine if the U.S. invaded a country and killed hundreds of thousands in order to revenge the 3,000 9/11 victims. That would be insane. I know. Kind of funny because I'm currently watching They keep reporting all their deaths as civilian deaths. Didn't their own media report most of them to be military units? No, not most of them. I mean, yes, most of the people that died were military units, but it doesn't matter. Okay, 250, let's say, are civilians. Is that okay? No, of course not. That doesn't change anything. Like, what do you think? They didn't kill civilians? Of course they did. Why are we still having this conversation? Ridiculous. A ridiculous conversation to have. Okay? Will you keep it going past the 250K goal? You're almost there. Holy shit. Yes. How does it help getting to Gaza? So I'm working with Tiltify to just directly create a holdover account. It's a 501c3 donation for you guys. So it's a tax deductible donation for you. And then they are going to cut it equally against ANIRA, okay, the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, the Palestine Red Crescent Society, and Medical Aid for Palestinians. These are the four charities on the ground that it's going to. Okay. Every single one of these organizations goes directly to. Every single one of these organizations are on the ground right now. They're working on the ground right now. You can keep up to date with what's going on, with where those funds are going. If you want to understand where those funds are going, you can go to their Twitter accounts. They are routinely updating. Like 400 bandages have now made it through. Here, Al-Quds Hospital with its patients and medical staff still at risk of being bombed. Today, we received the third warning to evacuate the hospital by 4 o'clock at the latest. It is imperative for the world to take action to prevent a humanitarian catastrophe and end the massacre. Is the last thing that the PRCS, Palestine Red Crescent Society, which is Red Cross in the Muslim world, is Red Crescent. Israel has been lending millions in cash from Qatar come into Gaza. If Israel were to have stopped that cash from getting in under the guise that it would be used for a terror attack, would you have thought that was more evil because it would have denied those funds? What? I'm confused as to what you're trying to say. Anyway. But yes. Even Hamas's victims' families are speaking out against Netanyahu and the genocide happening in Gaza. If they are condemning this, what is everyone else's excuse for defending this? Americans kind of love war for the sake of war. You know what I mean? Americans love championing wars, especially ones that like we just kind of pay for and don't actually personally get involved in. It's like our favorite pastime. There are, of course, major protests happening all around the world, protests that are backed by Jews against the apartheid, and also protests that are organized by Palestinians and living in diaspora and Arabs and Muslims and Jews alike. So a U.S. official has said something that is really funny. Israel must think about the consequences of Gaza invasion and not rush into war without an exit strategy. There is no plan. If you destroy Hamas, what's going to fill the vacuum? You destroy Al-Qaeda and you get ISIS. You destroy Hamas and you get Hamas 2.0. Now, that is true, except the inception of Hamas and its formation has been full of both American intelligence involvement and fuck-ups, and also Israeli intelligence involvement and fuck-ups as well. So I don't think they give a shit. I think that they are utilizing, at this point, the existence of Hamas to try to justify ethnic displacement and ethnic cleansing. And I don't know like how else to show this to the world. I don't know how else to show this to my American counterparts that refuse to recognize that reality, refuse to reckon with that reality, other than just, showing you what the officials are saying. It's not like this is a hidden thing. It's just, it's only not within your eyesight if you simply, due to an incredible amount of misinformation and due to white supremacist perspectives, due to this being a very comfortable argument that you have made time and time again to justify former American involvement in wars in the Middle East, you just don't see Palestinians as human beings. You see them as vessels worthy of being ethnically cleansed from the land that they historically occupied, that they historically belonged to. Just like, it's more so, I don't know. It's just, it's more so just seen as like an endless amount of casualties that is a necessity. Like, it has to happen. Damn, look at that. Donation matching $1,000. Let's go. New Chris Rufo media narrative just dropped. Yeah, I saw that. There's nothing funnier to me than charlatans that look at like ongoing ethnic cleansing and ethnic displacement and say to themselves, how can we turn this into internal domestic American politics? How can we use the energy for I don't know, getting Republicans elected? Genuine question and not a gotcha. One issue with 2 decades of Hamas controlling Gaza will be an entire generation of people growing up indoctrinated with their views. Yeah, I mean, this is not a gotcha, but you have to understand why this is incredibly one-sided, right? Because what do you think is more indoctrinating? What do you think is more radicalizing? Apartheid conditions both in the West Bank and also an open-air prison that you were born into in Gaza that's constantly being shelled and bombed by Israel? Or Hamas like brainwashing children personally? Okay? And if the answer to that is just simply, people being indoctrinated with their views that extend beyond Israel as a part of a potential peace process, you think that that is the largest problem with a potential peace process? If you improve people's material conditions, they will inevitably recognize that they are in a far better circumstance, but you need to make a good faith effort to do so. And that has never happened. It's never happened. Yeah, here it is. Breaking news. Iran sent a message to Israel on Saturday stressing that it does not want further escalation in the Hamas-Israel war, but that it will have to intervene if the Israeli occupation in Gaza continues. Two diplomatic sources with knowledge of the situation. Did they use Hamas-Israel war? Did they use those exact words? Or is that the American media saying those exact words? Because I don't think that is good PR. That seems very much like a American-backed statement to write. What do I mean by this? Because it is not Hamas versus Israel right now. It's Israel versus the people of Gaza. This is important to understand. Okay? Anyone that tells you that this is actually simply, Israel and Hamas duking it out are lying. It's not. That's not what's going on. Those 500 or I think now 700 children that were killed are not Hamas militants. Many of those adults are not Hamas militants. The women and children, the elderly, these are not Hamas militants that Israel is killing. Okay? Evacuating children and adults that are evacuating through a corridor that Israel declared safe. Those are not Hamas militants. If Israel went to war with Hamas, they would actually send the IDF into the Gaza Strip. Israel does not want to do that because they do not want any of the IDF to even die in this circumstance, because it's much easier to just keep lobbing missiles into the most densely populated open-air prison as the world looks on and doesn't even turn a blind eye to it, but actually champions it, cheers it on, says, hell yeah, brother, do more of that, please. How do you answer against the point that people make that Hamas is using schools, hospitals, and using human shields? They don't understand that it's bad, that they're bombing it anyways. Yeah, I don't know how to get it across to people that, one, Hamas is the governing body. There's a couple different issues here. One, this is the most densely packed open-air prison, densely packed area, one of the most densely packed areas on the fucking planet, okay? So there is no calculated strike that exclusively hits Hamas targets. That's number one. So no matter what you do, you're killing civilians. Number two, okay? Number two, the idea that Israelis use regularly when they talk about this is, well, if someone is shooting at my children through a hostage, then sometimes you have to shoot the hostage. And the answer to that is, no, you don't. You don't actually have to do that at all. That is insane. Okay? Not even a good comparison, but it also is one that is ridiculous. There are rules of engagement, and there are rules to even war, which Israel violates on a daily basis. It is a fucking war crime. Okay? Number three, Israel lies all the time about this thing, this notion that like all of their targets are actually military targets. It's fucking bullshit. It's not. We know it's not. Many of the targets that we have watched get reduced to rubble are so obviously not Hamas targets, like mosques, hospitals, and like even international journalism stations, buildings that host like the Associated Press and other like UN buildings. Like, you think these are places that have Hamas militants in them? You think that that's what's going on? You think that the entire world has gotten together, the UN RWA schools have gotten together to secretly host Hamas militants and weapons? Okay? Like, secretly. And people go, in the basements. Yes. That's so crazy that the Associated Press is just completely oblivious to the Hamas weapons inside of their basements. They just had no idea. It was just there. NGOs, the United Nations, like everyone is just collaborating. Everyone is just collaborating and colluding against the state of Israel. Everyone is in the wrong. Only Israel is in the right. That is the suspension of disbelief that you have to engage with in order to make this make sense. Okay? It is horrifying, it is ridiculous, and I cannot comprehend how anyone even would take a look at this and go, no, this is actually fine and dandy. Okay? This guy is a human rights lawyer, international human rights lawyer, Arsen Ostrovsky. He posted this. I saw it earlier. A human rights lawyer. That's how little human rights matter, dude. It's so awesome. Like, can you imagine posting this? Brother, do you not understand what you're doing when you post this? This is literally Nazi propaganda. This was throughout history, this kind of imagery was used against Jewish people until not that long ago. And as a matter of fact, still used against Jewish people to this day. How do you look at this and not realize, like, wait a minute, maybe I'm the bad guy here. I feel like I'm being the bad guy. Am I the baddie? Am I the baddie in this circumstance? If the post was the other way around, he would have been banned by now, but he only gets a fucking community note. Exactly. And he should be, for the record. If the post is the other way around, he should get banned. This post is also ban worthy. It's fucking ridiculous. CEO at the ILF, the International Legal Forum, a global network of lawyers standing up for Israel and fighting terror, anti-Semitism, and BDS in the international legal area. His interest in international human rights is to take down NGOs and civil society organizations and like many other organizations that say, hey, Israel is actually doing is has set up an apartheid state and is doing incredibly violent shit. I find that to be really, really strange, especially because, like, on the one hand, you're like showing your enemies as cockroaches and they're not real human beings, right? Okay, got it. But then also on the other hand, you're the boot that steps on them. Like, you're not, like, this quite literally is you being the bad guy. Like, you're saying you're the bad guy. Oh, I can't. This person has blocked me, I think. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. The boot is like literally the bad party here. You willingly have taken over the boot in that situation. You volunteered that. I don't understand. Say what you will, but that's next level hating. Committing to a discipline of law just to hate harder. True. It is true. Wait, is this an official post by the IDF? No, the IDF posts unhinged shit all the time, but that's not the IDF. That's just a human rights lawyer. Yes, Iran. This is the update I already mentioned. Iran has said they might get involved if the civilian bombing campaign continues. Anyway, let's here. Let me run this.
Law and human rights law must be respected and upheld. Civilians must be protected and also never used as shields.
It's exactly a week since Hamas gunmen rampaged through southern Israel. Families still coming to terms with the lives lost. This memorial for Tom Godo, killed while protecting his wife and 3 children during the attack on a kibbutz. At least 100.
I think going forward, when you talk about when you mention Israeli casualties and their loved ones, I think it's important to also show a different attitude that certain individuals and their loved ones have in comparison to what the British media is mentioning, because there are plenty that I have seen both on Israeli television and all over the internet, okay, that have an entirely different attitude, that say that this violence is directly caused, this violence that they had to withstand, these horrific actions that they had to withstand, are directly a consequence of their own government's making, okay? And if I have access to that as a dumbass American himbo, okay, sitting in my fucking house scrolling through Twitter, I know multi-billion-dollar mainstream media operations also have access to the same footage. So they must be refusing to cover it for some weird reason. You know what I mean? There has to be. Like, there is no way that they are just completely oblivious. That they're completely oblivious to that fucking reality, okay? The one I'm of course referencing, hold on, I'm gonna talk about this in a second. Yeah, now they're fucking rising up. I spoke to the UN SG Antonio Guterres following my visit in contact with the regional leaders. The EU will be tripling its humanitarian aid for vulnerable civilians in Gaza and the wider region. We will redouble efforts to ensure support reaches to those who need it. That's nice, man. Thanks. Will that come with the condemnation of war crimes? Probably not. You know, will that call for a cessation of the endless amounts of violence? Probably not. I already mentioned this. I already showed this guy who is literally like he's a victim. He's a victim. You can't cure killed babies with more dead babies. We need peace. This is the son of a missing Israeli peace activist that says his mother would be mortified by the situation in Gaza and that vengeance is not a strategy.
In her closet, and we decided to stop talking on the phone so she wouldn't be heard, and we wrote each other, and until she wrote me they're inside the house. And then we just said our goodbyes. I wrote her, I'm with you. She wrote back, I feel you. 10:54, that was the last message.
What would your mother think of what's happening in Gaza now?
She would be mortified. Because you can't cure killed babies with more dead babies. We need peace. That's what she was working for all her life. I don't want people to hear what I'm saying.
Hasanabi providing aid to civilians while simultaneously funding the bombs being dropped on their heads. Are you talking about me? Because yes, I cannot control how much of my tax dollars go directly to the fucking bombs being dropped on their heads, if that's what you're saying. I mean, I advocate against that all the time. Oh, you're talking about the EU? Okay, well, yes, we all have blood on our hands, whether we like to admit it or recognize it or not. You know? I'm gonna tweet the dono link right now. I just have to find it. Sorry. I'm all over the place right now. Fortunately. So much so that I've forgotten that at the top of the hour there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime. That's right. I even forgot about that. Well, I guess I didn't really forget about it, did I? Here's a 3-minute ad break now, chat.
In Israel, I stand by my message. But my friends, how can you not want, everybody to die? Pain is pain. And I talk with people from the kibbutz and we cry together. You can't mend that. But the only way to have safety and to live good lives is with peace. Vengeance isn't a strategy.
Here is a Be'eri kibbutz victim. Oh, this is exactly what I wanted to watch. Thank you for finding this. This is the one I watched that was very powerful. Okay? This is, here is Little Rock, a 19-year-old young woman from Kibbutz Be'eri, less than 3 miles from the border with Gaza. 110 of her neighbors were slaughtered. Okay? Here.
17 מקיבוץ בארי. הדבר הכי גרוע, חוץ מלשמוע את כל השמות של המתים והנעדרים והשבויים, הדבר הכי גרוע במיידי לא היה לשכב בחושך בממ"ד, זה לא היה לשמוע את היריות, זה לא היה אפילו
It wasn't the shootings, it wasn't to receive emergency in real time from members in my kibbutz. Names I've known since I know myself, asking for help and no one arrives. The worst thing for me, except for the dead and the hostages, was the moment I stepped out of my house when we were evacuated and it was dark and I was barefoot stepping on glass and I saw the faces of my neighbors. Fear. God-awful fear. And I saw faces that I've known since I've known myself in a way that I'd never seen them before. Tears, people I grew up with, fear. And it's also while walking around here, I just made it to the hotel in the Dead Sea. It's walking around here and seeing the members of my kibbutz trying to get up in the morning, trying to keep it together, to smile once in a while. Each of them struggling. And it's to collect myself every morning. But every morning it's an extremely hard task to collect myself. What happened to us was shocking.
אבל יש משהו שמאוד חשוב לי להגיד.
But there is something important that I want to say.
מה שקרה לנו לא היה חדש.
What happened that was not
פשוט
new,
גרוע יותר.
just worse than before.
מפקירים אותנו
We've been
שנים.
abandoned for years.
אל תגידו כיפת ברזל,
Iron
זה
Dome's
פלסטר.
defense system, that's a
אל תגידו
band-aid.
חיילים, זה
Soldiers,
פלסטר.
they're a
זה
band-aid.
פלסטר, בן אדם
A person
מתפסס,
is
אתם נותנים
dying,
לו
you're bringing them a
פלסטר.
band-aid?
בושה,
Shame.
בושה.
Shame.
שנים אנחנו מדברים
We've been
על זה.
talking about it for
שנים.
years.
מפקירים אותנו.
They're abandoning us.
לכאן זה מגיע.
That's where it
זה לא
comes
היה
from.
חדש, רק
It wasn't
גרוע
new,
יותר.
just worse.
וזה לא הדבר היחיד שהוא לא
And
חדש,
it's not the
אלא רק
only
גרוע
thing
יותר
that's new, but just
במלחמה
worse
הזאת.
in this war.
ואני מנסה למצוא את המילים, כי
Bro, what are you doing? Showing Israeli sympathy vids when Gazans are getting flattened? How about you fucking cool your goddamn jets for one moment, okay? First of all, these are people too, okay? And the violence inflicted on them is directly a cause of the violence that the Israeli state has inflicted upon Palestinian people. But you can't even fucking sit there for 3.5 seconds and listen to someone describe their own fucking conditions and how terrified they are without blowing a goddamn gasket. Calm down. I get the tensions are high, okay? But if you think that I'm doing the same thing that the fucking mainstream media does, specifically to just act like you know, Gazans don't exist, and to only show the very real pain that people in Israel felt, you're silly. You're a silly bitch, okay? Anyway, let's continue.
בכנות קצת קשה למצוא אותן עם כל הכעס והאבל שיש בתוכי כרגע. איך אני אמורה לקום בבוקר?
How am I supposed to get up in the
אזרחי
morning?
ישראל,
Citizens of
פוליטיקאים,
Israel,
תושבי
politicians,
ישראל,
residents of Israel
חו"ל, לא
overseas.
אכפת לי מי שומע,
I don't care
תקשיבו לי
who's
טוב.
listening, but listen to me carefully.
איך אני אמורה לקום
How
בבוקר
am I supposed to get up in the
ולדעת
morning
ש4.5
and know that
קילומטרים
4.5 kilometers from
בארי.
Kibbutz Be'eri,
בעזה
there
יש
in
אנשים שזה לא
Gaza,
נגמר
there
בשבילם.
are people for whom this isn't over.
בשבילי זה נגמר אחרי
For
12
me, it
שעות,
was
כי
over
היה לאן
after
להוציא
12
אותו.
hours because there was
אני
some
בים
place to
המלח.
take me. I'm at the Dead Sea.
מי שמדבר על נקמה,
Those of you who
תתביישו.
want to talk about revenge, shame on
יש
you.
הרבה כאב, זה
There's
נכון.
tremendous pain.
אני,
That's true.
אחרי כל
Me,
מה שעברתי,
after everything I went through,
כל כך הרבה
I
כוחות
lose
אני
so
מאבדת
much of
בכל
my
פעם שאני
strength
שומעת את
every
המילה
time I
נקמה.
hear the word revenge.
מה שאני עברתי,
What I went
שאנשים
through,
יעברו
for
את זה
others to
ולא
go
יהיה מי
through
שיוציא
this,
אותם,
and there won't be anyone to pull them out of it,
אי אפשר ככה, אי
it
אפשר
isn't
ככה.
possible
לא,
this way.
אי אפשר
It's
עוד
no
פלסטרים.
longer
שואלים אותנו
possible.
כל הזמן,
No more
אתם
band-aids.
חושבים
People keep
שתחזרו
on asking us,
לקיבוץ
will you
אחרי
go
זה?
back to
אתם
the
חושבים
kibbutz
שתחזרו
afterwards?
לגור שם?
Will you go back
בלי
to
עוד
live there
הגנה, בלי עוד
without more
חיילים, בלי עוד
soldiers,
זה?
more
אל תגידו לי
defenses?
חיילים, אל
Don't
תגידו
say
לי
soldiers.
תגידו לי פתרון
Don't say
מדיני.
defenses. Say a political
כבר
solution.
שנים אנחנו מבקשים
For
פתרון
years we've been
מדיני.
asking for a political solution.
אני בת 19,
I'm 19 years old.
יש לי חברים
I have friends
שנפלו
who died
בקרב
in battle these past
חיילים.
days.
בימים האחרונים.
Who,
שכשהם היו בגן,
when they were in
הם ידעו מה הם רוצים
kindergarten,
להיות
they
בצבא.
knew what they wanted to be in the
שאני
army.
אגדל ככה
Should
את
I
הילדים
raise
שלי?
my children in this way?
בושה.
Shame.
בושה וחרפה.
A shame and a
שאני אגדל את
disgrace.
הילדים שלי ואני אשאל אותם
Should I ask my 5-year-old
תגיד
kids,
חמודי מה אתה רוצה
tell
להיות
me
בצבא?
cutie, what do you want to be in the army?
כמה אפשר?
How
כמה
much?
אפשר לאבד?
How
כמה
much
אפשר
can one
לספור?
give? How much can one absorb?
אנחנו, מי שיצא,
We, those who
אנחנו
survived, we
חיה
are a living and
ומהלכת.
walking proof.
ותאמינו לי,
And
מי
believe
ששומע את זה,
me, those who
שאנחנו,
are listening, that
זה עוד יכול להיות יותר
it
גרוע.
could
זה
even
יכול
be
להיות.
worse.
מבחינתי,
From my point
זה
of
הדבר
view,
שהכי
and this
חשוב
is
לי
the
להגיד
most
כרגע.
important thing,
וזה ככה כבר
it's been
שנים.
this way for years now.
כשמפציצים אותנו
When we are
בטילים,
bombarded with missiles,
של דבר זה
ultimately
דברים
that
שעוברים
stuff
לנו
goes
מעל
over our heads.
לא הטילים, הטילים
The
לא עוברים
missiles
מעל
don't
הראש.
go
טילים
over
נוחתים
our
יפה
backs.
באדמה,
They land
תאמינו.
quite nicely on the ground, believe me.
ההחלטה להפציץ בטילים,
The decision to bombard with
זה מעל הראש
missiles,
שלי.
that
ביבי,
goes over
חמאס,
my
לא
head.
אכפת לי.
Bibi, Hamas,
מה שאני
I don't
יודעת
care.
זה שבארי
What I
סובלת,
know is that Be'eri
סובלת,
suffers,
כפר
Nahal Oz
עזה,
suffers,
שדרות
Kfar Aza,
ועזה.
Sderot, and Gaza.
תאמינו לי שכל קסאם,
Believe me that each Qassam
4.5
rocket,
קילומטר מרחק, האדמה בבארי
4.5 kilometers away from Gaza, from Be'eri to
4.5
Gaza,
קילומטר מרחק, האדמה בבארי
the
ובעזה
ground trembles
רועדת
the
בדיוק
same
אותו
way.
דבר. בדיוק אותו דבר. אי אפשר.
That's not possible. Not possible. I know there's a lot of anger at Bibi because I feel it. I feel it very strongly in moments when I'm able to feel, because it's a bit hard to feel recently. I feel it because how many people need to die for him? For his ego, for his interests. I'm not sure if they've already said this, but missiles, especially in the last attack. Because, you know, before the terrorists arrived, I heard more missiles than I heard throughout my 19 years of life. All at once. All at once. A whole lot. We knew at once it was a war. Before the terrorists, before everything. We are always the first to know, the first to hear. You hear it from where we are. The way I see it, the missiles that strike us, it feels as though our government has fired them. Because that government has abandoned me throughout all my life. And now the worst of all has arrived. And if this wasn't, God knows what will become of us. Now it's true that Bibi this and Bibi that. Truly, I blame him 100% for everything. Okay, pack it up. She's being anti-Semitic, right? According to the fucking, according to Americans. I mean, this person who witnessed 110 of her closest family members and neighbors has more moral clarity and courage in this very moment when the bodies haven't been even fucking buried yet, to directly talk about this. When Americans that are 10,000 miles away are fucking horned up with our endless bloodlust. The entire media in the United States, the media apparatus in the United States is not fucking taking a more reasonable, more tempered approach to what's going on. Okay? Think about that. Isn't he Muslim, so biased? Bro, we can read. Oh, you mean me? I'm Muslim, so I'm biased? Really? It's so strange to say this because, I mean, I criticize Saudi Arabia pretty fucking endlessly too, despite the media refusing to do so. Okay? And you do your part on this anti-Semitic take. Yes. I love when Americans living in Idaho who are white evangelical Protestants turn around and tell a fucking Jewish Israeli person living in the literal kibbutz where 110 of her closest friends and family members were slaughtered that she is anti-Semitic. The audacity, the gall. It's just so fucking insane to me that you can think that you can do this. It is no different than a fucking German politician telling Bernie Sanders, okay, related to Holocaust survivors, like victims of the fucking Holocaust, direct family members, that he is not allowed to, as an American Jew, make criticisms of the state of Israel, that I, a German Christian, will tell you what's what. How dare you say things? How dare you demand a cessation of the violence? How dare you fucking ask to stop this endless bloodshed? The audacity of these fucking animals, okay? The audacity of these fucking animals. Those policemen in France arresting Jewish Voice for Peace activists for the crime of carrying a fucking Palestinian flag. Same in Germany. What the fuck is going on? What are we doing? We are not that far removed from the Holocaust. Like, what do you mean? Like, listen, internally, when my wonderful Jewish brothers and sisters get fucking shit on by other ultra-Zionist, ultra-nationalist, reactionary Jews that say, they call them fake Jews. You're a fake Jew. You're a fake Jew. You're a fake Jew. You're a fucking anti-Semite. You're a self-hating Jew. When they say that, that's one thing, okay? It's still unacceptable. It's fucking ridiculous, okay? But when you have people that are not even of the tribe, okay, just straight up Christians, trying to tell fucking Jewish people that they're in the wrong for asking to scale back on this fucking violence, like, You know your title is misinforming. No bombing happened on any evacuation road. Hamas just leveraged one bombing that happened and made it into a title. You just pass forward. Not supporting Israel here. This ain't an easy situation. No side, but this is fake news. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Just like Hamas blew up, just like Hamas is actually the ones that gave the IDF the white phosphorus to use on the hospital. Just like Hamas is actually the one that blew up the press position inside of Lebanon, that Reuters is even too afraid to fucking openly admit, even though it's on camera. You know? Yeah, the 70 killed after Israeli strikes hit 3 convoys of evacuees trying to leave northern Gaza. That was all a lie. That was actually Hamas that threw that rocket. It is so disgusting. At least figure out what kind of fucking propaganda that you are running with. Figure out where your propaganda is. Is it that those guys deserved it, or was it Hamas that blew it up, blew themselves up? Okay? What are you saying? Listen, in many other places, that kind of propaganda might work because most people don't see Palestinians as human beings that are worthy of humanity and dignity. Okay? And that is by design. It's a deliberate attempt. But this is the one fucking place where you're not going to be able to get away with that. Okay? This is the one fucking place where you can't get away with that. So why are you here? Why are you here still trying to be like, no, actually, you guys are wrong. No. They are all animals that deserve it. They are all human shields that deserve it. And Israel, on the other hand, is not humans. Like, they're just a robotic machine. They are a naturally occurring phenomena, a natural disaster, you know? And you're just getting in the way of that natural disaster in that circumstance. Like, the idea that we have to set up humanitarian corridors as Israel continues its bombing campaign is already a fucking insane one, okay? Like, there is a way out of that, which is Israel not doing the bombing campaign. And then people say, how do you explain that Arab countries don't want to take the Palestinian refugees? First of all, this also forgets whether or not the Palestinian refugees want to leave or not, okay? You cannot jump. You cannot skip a step and act like, they just want to leave because a fucking hurricane is occurring in their hometown. They do not want to leave, for the most part, because they are afraid that they will never be able to return, as this has happened time and time again to them. Okay? It happened during the Nakba, and it happened every single time Israel went to war. It's ridiculous, dude. What a question. What a fucking question. Wow, this is really the responsibility of every other nation, just not Israel. It's never Israel's responsibility. He chose to have us live this way. He chose to give us the Iron Dome instead of a political solution. And he chose a great deal of other things as well. And our blood is on his hands. But it's not just him. He's at the root of a very deep problem, but it's not just him. If my words reach anyone, look inside very well, deep inside. Ask yourself what your values are. Ask yourself in relation to everything around you. How are your values related to what you see around? Ask yourself very, very well. Ask yourself whom you vote for, what you demand of them. I know what I'm demanding. I'm demanding for a fair peace. I demand that the Bedouin in the Negev receive the same help that my Be'eri received. That is incredibly important. This is another part of this conflict that I've only seen myself and maybe a few others talk about as well. The Bedouin they do not have bomb shelters. They live in Israel proper, just like she does inside of the kibbutz, and they never get help. They have never gotten help. There are Arabs that live in Israel proper that do not have access to the same amenities and same level of help that Israeli Jews get, okay? And even then, it's to varying degrees, even inside of the kibbutzes, even inside of the southern towns. There is a difference of how immediate that action is and how immediate that help is. Okay, this is something that people fucking forget about as well. That like the Arab Israelis that are not Jewish, that have also historically lived on this land, that have not been displaced, that are a part of the Israeli government, okay, that are supposed to be protected in the same way, are not getting help at all. 40 Bedouins died, okay? They died in the hands of Hamas gunfire, and they died in the rocket fire that was dropped on them. Okay? They are Palestinian citizens of Israel, not Arab Israelis. Sorry. So remember that. Okay? Yeah, this is London right now. Even as the UK government threatens to crack down on pro-Palestine activists and protesters, the masses come out in support of Gaza. Do you think these people are out there because they're anti-Semitic? Or do you think they're out there because they see an injustice that they cannot look away from, an injustice that is so gross, an injustice that is being funded and facilitated by our dollars, by our money, an injustice that our leaders turn a blind eye to, and in many instances actually directly look at it and champion. Okay? It's completely unacceptable. It is completely and utterly unacceptable. And I do think that we are stuck in such awful echo chambers. Okay? We are stuck inside of such awful echo chambers, specifically in America, especially, where we do not see that. Okay? We do not see that there are real people out there who look at this violence and say, enough is enough. We have to put an end to it. Okay? I hope that I know that there are people in here right now who have a different opinion than mine, who are in here to troll, who are in here to combat the propaganda and do your bidding, because this is a digital war of information too for you, okay? If you're in here with a differing opinion, I hope that you can possibly engage in a little bit of self-criticism, okay? It is very, very important. Have some decency, reflect on your advocacy, and really think about it. Just sit back and think about it. That there are victims out there who make a better assessment of the root cause of the violence that they faced when their friends haven't even been buried yet. They're able to demonstrate the moral clarity that you cannot comprehend. Be objective about this, okay? Be objective.
וגם אנחנו לא מספיק, כי אין אזרחים באו לעזור לנו, אזרחים. הממשלה בשום מקום.
The government is nowhere to be seen.
ויש לי הרבה
And I'm very grateful for having a hotel at the Dead Sea. But obviously every person here would forfeit that in exchange for our hostages being released. By the way, I've only twice heard the government make any mention of the existence of the hostages. That's the other part. They are literally purposely fucking acting like no such hostages are inside of Gaza right now, because their bombs are killing those hostages, okay? They want to say like, oh, it's Hamas, it's Hamas, it's Hamas. Yes, Hamas is the one who kidnapped them, okay? Hamas militants are the ones who kidnapped them, thinking that they could fucking negotiate with Israel, and thinking that Israel would listen and actually care for their own citizens. Because listen, Palestinians know the Israeli government doesn't treat them as humans. They know that already. But the grave mistake that they made was thinking that the Israeli government would at least care and consider for their own fucking citizens, okay, and their lives, and try to preserve the lives of Israeli citizens. And the mistake they made was that the Israeli government wants to expel Muslims from the region and Arabs and Palestinians from the region more than they want to preserve the safety and security of their own people. And that is the exact same reason as to why she is 100% correct. Okay? The Israeli government does not care about the safety and security of its own citizens. If it did, they would look for a path to peace. They hold all the power here. They care more about land grabs and endless expansion and a maintenance of an apartheid state than they do about the safety and security of their own citizens that they supposedly are tasked with defending. Ironic that the only people that helped them after the war are the Arabs. Did you see the Columbia academic faculty saying all the students in SJP should die? What? It's crazy how they went from releasing 1,000 prisoners for one IDF soldier to just murdering their own citizens because Hamas. Yeah. An official said today, there won't be any negotiation for the kidnapped to be released with an enemy we want to erase. That is so insane and so far from anything I believe the state believes in. It's heartbreaking. I hope that this is an eye-opening moment for Israeli citizens. I hope that this is an eye-opening moment for those who believe in Zionism being a just cause. Okay? It is very difficult to unlearn propaganda that you've been exposed to your whole life. I get it. Okay, it takes a shit ton of reflection, a shit ton of self-reflection. Okay, it does. Is Israel bombing hostages? Israel's bombing everywhere, indiscriminately. Hamas said we'll start killing the hostages if you keep bombing us, and then they didn't. They thought that maybe Israel will stop bombing. They never stopped. They said, oh, we'll kill hostages on camera if you keep bombing. And they were like, okay, who cares? Fuck you. And they kept bombing. Because for this government, for this current government, that's perfect for them. They're like, oh, great. Please kill the hostages on camera so that we can openly state you killed them, that we can show everyone that you killed them and further justify the endless bombing campaign that befalls upon the Palestinians. Would you consider making a Tiltify community campaign so that other streamers could raise money as well? Yes, I don't know how to do that though. Bold but accurate and relevant. The Middle East is so complicated, they said, as they scrolled past the 50th post from Palestinians explaining what was happening, refusing to internalize new information because it would force them to confront the reality that the people they trust had lied or misinformed them. Yeah. They're acting as if they don't exist, the hostages. They're bombing while they know that this bombardment will also cost their lives. Bro, there is no better, sorry, I know I keep cutting her off and she's really cooking, but there is no better representation in my mind of what the Israeli government's goals were in that immediate moment when there were still Palestinian forces inside of Israel proper, okay, that had taken over precincts, that had taken over entire towns. And the first move from the IDF and from those who are on top of the IDF, who are, moving units around, their first move wasn't to go and take control over the southern towns. It was to start bombing Gaza. When that happens, how can you sit back and think that these guys actually have any sort of care or consideration for their own citizens. They literally went into bomb Gaza button. They hit the bomb Gaza button. It's the only button they have at their disposal. Okay? How do I fucking change the... One second. We have a up to 10K donation matching happening right now.
החזרת שבויים. שלום. הגינות והוגנות.
Decency and fairness.
אם אין לכם
If you don't have the ears with which to hear what I just said to you,
אין תקווה.
there's no hope.
תעצרו טוב טוב, תשקלו את
Stop
המילים
right there.
שתקשיבו.
Consider my words. They might be hard for some of you to hear.
קשות. קשה לי לדבר.
You see,
רואים?
it is
קשה לי
difficult for
לדבר.
me to speak.
אולי לחלקכם
They
המילים
might be
האלה
hard for
קשות
some of you to
לשמוע.
hear.
עם מה שאני
And
עברתי
after what I
בבארי,
went
אתם
through
חייבים
in
לי את זה.
Be'eri, you owe it to me.
אתם חייבים לי את
You
זה.
owe it to me.
לא בקטע של
This isn't
אשמה.
about guilt.
כולנו
We all
עוברים
go
הרבה.
through a lot.
קחו הפסקות. תטפלו בעצמכם, תשמרו על עצמכם,
Take
תשמרו
care
על
of your
המשפחות.
families, protect your families, take a
אבל אתם
break.
חייבים לי את זה.
But you owe it to
תשאלו
me.
את עצמכם למי אתם
Ask
מצביעים.
yourself who
תשאלו
you
מה
vote
אתם
for.
מבקשים ממנו.
Ask yourself what
ואל
you demand
תתפשרו.
from them.
אם
And
אתם
don't
נותנים לתקווה
compromise.
למות,
If
אתם
you
נותנים
allow hope to
לתושבי
die, you
עוטף
are
עזה
allowing the
למות.
citizens
שוב.
of Gaza to die again.
אין לי עוד מה להגיד.
That's it. 19 years old. Everyone that she knows is fucking dead, okay? They're not even being buried yet, and she has this moral clarity and courage. And it's so sad because it is identical everywhere around the world. It is always the same, okay? For Americans, think about it. Think about it. We look around and we see things are incredibly fucked up, okay? Americans can only view things from the lens, from the incredibly insulated lens of being an American. If you're in this community, you're already familiar with this, but like think about how ridiculous it is that we don't have fucking healthcare, for example. And as conditions worsen, or think about how ridiculous it is that we just keep increasing our military budgets over and over again, year over year over year. Okay? And if you ask Americans, they're like, this is stupid. This is fucked up. Don't do this. But there is nothing. You can't do anything. You can't change that reality no matter what. Okay? There's no way to adequately push back against this. It's this machine. One example I always use. One example that I always use is the American carceral state. There are examples of more humane treatment of prisoners all around the world, right? More humane treatment of prisoners all around the world that lead to better outcomes overall. Better outcomes overall. You look at Norway, you look at America, okay? Two countries going in the exact opposite direction. And as conditions worsen and as crime becomes a bigger problem, we constantly say, oh, it's just we don't have enough prisoners in this country. We haven't locked enough people up. You can't keep doing the same things over and over again and expect different results. You just can't do that. And yet we do. It's insanity. We keep doing the same shit over and over again and expect a different result somehow. Yes, I saw Mark Lamont Hill grill the Israeli official on camera. Does boycotting McDonald's in Arab countries actually does something? No, I that was a joke. I posted the McDonald's thing as a joke to like, you know, Yeah. I hope that demonstrate a moment of self-reflection. See the moral clarity. 19-year-old victim. Of an ounce. Moral. I hope that those in the Western world can demonstrate a moment of self-reflection and have an ounce of the moral clarity of this 19-year-old victim who experienced a massacre in Kibbutz Be'eri. Unfortunately, Norway is trending in the wrong direction lately. Yeah. Well. You have the option in your Tiltify campaign to set up an Amplify link, then streamers could track their chat's donations. I don't know. I'm sorry. Hold on. I'll do it. I'll try and do it. 1 second. Set up the tab on your campaign dashboard, change the amount of campaign goals, and save the changes. We are nearing. I'm gonna try and fix this while we watch this. Okay, hold on here.
150 Israelis were kidnapped. Families of the victims leaning on each other for support. Katya's son among those missing.
We are very anxious. Our hope is that our child comes back. We cannot think otherwise. Our child has to come home.
A deep sense of foreboding. The ratcheting up of this crisis seems inevitable. Nick Johnson, BBC News.
Well, we're now
Here's
joined by Lord Mark Malloch Brown, former Deputy Secretary General of the UN.
I found the Amplify link.
President of the Open Society Foundations. Thank you for joining us. We've been discussing.
This is George Soros's foundation.
The proposal put forth by Russia to call for a ceasefire. What's your feeling on this proposal? Do you think there's any chance that a ceasefire might be implemented?
I mean, it'd be wonderful if there could be a ceasefire. And, you know, the Brazilians who chair the Security Council this month have also got a much more balanced resolution, which begins with a condemnation of Hamas for its attacks on Israeli citizens, and then goes on similarly to call for a ceasefire to allow proper humanitarian access and support to civilians at risk in Gaza. And, you know, I would love to believe that the Security Council can come together around that. But in fact, there are a pretty wide range of views at the moment, with some Western countries, US particularly, you know, certainly calling for humanitarian restraint, but also, you know, feeling, and they're correct in law, that Israel has an absolute right to you know, strike back at Hamas, which it does. And by putting
I increased the goal to $500,000.
Inhibited its ability to, the US has inhibited its ability to also demand a ceasefire and respect for the rules.
Wait, what is he saying? Sorry, I wasn't paying any fucking attention.
To you know, strike back at Hamas, which it does. And by putting that first and foremost, it's in.
Bro, this is, dude. The idea that we're like babying Israel every step of the fucking way, it just shows me that we learned nothing from 9/11. Okay, we learned nothing from the actions that the world took after 9/11. It is fucking unimaginable. Like, brother, nobody on the planet, okay, it thinks that like Israel is not allowed to even like arrest someone, okay? You know what I mean? Like to try and punish the people who are responsible. There is not a single person who's saying that on the planet. As a matter of fact, every single person is literally saying Israel has a right to just wipe out Gaza. That's what most people are saying, okay? That's what most people are saying right now. There are very few people who are going, can we just fucking de-escalate? What the fuck? You're doing ethnic cleansing. You're doing ethnic cleansing, and then those calls for a ceasefire or a peace or a de-escalation are being considered as morally repugnant. The American State Department sent out an internal memo that said, do not use the term ceasefire, do not use the term de-escalation, and do not use the term peace. Can you imagine where we're at? That's what the State Department said. Karine Jean-Pierre, a Haitian American woman, okay? The White House press secretary. Think about the history. Think about the history of Haiti to understand how ridiculous it is that this person said it was morally repugnant for the squad, the 13 or I think it was 18 members in the Democratic Party saying that we must put conditions on the blood and soil campaign that Israel is engaging in Gaza. That was morally repugnant. That was morally repugnant. That's what she said. It is morally repugnant to protest ethnic cleansing. That is the position of the American government. I am ashamed. I am more ashamed of the American government than I have been in quite a long time. I never really thought that they would be this barbaric, but history has shown that the Western world, who love, and I mean love, presenting themselves as the tolerant, elitist, intelligent, empathetic individuals, have shown their asses once again. That nothing has changed. When it comes to colonial violence, they are always on board. Time and time again. They are not benevolent at all. And of course, my criticism does not extend to Ireland, who has always been a shining light of moral courage in a fucking sea of psychopathic bloodthirst. Okay? Shouts out to the Irish. Always and forever, actually. Fucking crazy, dude. Disgusting. Actually disgusting. But you know what? Here. As we reach the 250,000 barrier in an hour and like 30 minutes, we also reach another boundary, the top of the hour ad break. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and MBs. At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get one free Prime subscription a month. You can also get gifted a sub. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Eventually. I have so much fucking respect, dude. I have so much respect for the Irish people. They're a wonderful fucking people. Holy moly. Sen nasıl hala ban yemiyorsun Twitch'ten? Salak. Anyway, all right, let's continue.
Inhibited its ability to, the US has inhibited its ability to also demand a ceasefire and respect for the rule of law. And for humanitarian law. So, the trouble is a lot of Israel's friends are a little ambivalent at best in their messaging, recognizing Israel's right to self-defense and then leaving very much in second place respect for the civilians at risk. And
I love that this is the most tempered response that you're hearing on the BBC is like, we have to recognize Israel's right to self-defense, but also like maybe we should tell them to follow the rule of law in the international rule-based order. You know what I mean? Where is that? Where is that, by the way? I thought liberalism brought prosperity to the fucking world. The rule-based order, they said. We have never, ever fucking seen those rules be followed by those who are inside of the Western sphere of influence. They never follow those rules. Those rules are just to simply bully other nations with, okay? Those rules are there so we can justify whatever the fuck we do to others who violate them that are not in the Western sphere of influence. That's what those rules are there for. And by the way, in our defense, our ultimate goal always is to still violate those rules while we're technically supposedly defending those rules, okay? America, and every single person knows this already, will never have to follow international rules, ever. Never, ever, ever.
And so it's tragically hard to see how we get quickly enough to a point where both sides pause, hold back, and try and allow a little space, not just for humanitarian protection, but for the beginnings of diplomacy.
The worst, the truly shameful aspect of this is that they are presenting humanitarian corridors, which are facilitating ethnic displacement, as the reasonable middle ground here. Like, it literally is that classic meme of centrist liberals being like, I'm okay with only 50% of the population being ethnically cleansed. Okay? One side is saying 100% of the population gets ethnically cleansed. The other side is saying no one gets ethnically cleansed. And I'm here in the center as a centrist liberal saying maybe only 50%. That is literally what is happening right now. It's okay. A little bit of ethnic cleansing is a treat. Israel is very upset. They have the right to do revenge. They have a right to do revenge. And in that revenge, like, as long as we can get at least like 50% of the population that is being directly bombarded out through a corridor where they can never fucking turn around and come back into the historic Palestinian lands that they've lived in for centuries, then that's fine. That's a little bit of ethnic cleansing is a treat. Half of them get to live for the rest of their lives in fucking tent cities in an incredibly hostile area, okay, where they're surrounded by fucking bandits and maybe new formations of ISIS, but that's okay. Fuck it. That's like significantly better, right? That's technically better, right? That's better than being bombed. It's like, how have we completely all come together and have decided that this monstrosity is like a humanitarian catastrophe that is seemingly impossible to combat? Like, we just can't stop it. I love the audacity, or I love the shamelessness, as a matter of fact. Okay? I love the shamelessness of those who simultaneously say, Israel has a right to retaliate. Israel has a right to retaliate, which, by the way, is boundless and endless, okay? And that retaliation is ethnic cleansing and ethnic displacement. Ethnic displacement if they're lucky, okay? We haven't even gotten to that point yet. Like, the notion that you are championing Israel's retaliation, while that retaliation is a major escalation and is just unimaginable, okay? While also simultaneously making it seem like this is totally justifiable, and that the best pathway forward is basically just to do a little bit of ethnic cleansing and a little bit of ethnic displacement, is fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
As well.
Lord Malik Brown, then, what do the discussions that are going on at UN headquarters in New York tell us about...
Seeing the liberals replying to the most bloodthirsty comments on the Next to Twitter account, the Ukraine news site, is so jarring and shocking. Yeah. I really did think for a brief moment that maybe Ukrainians, not just Ukrainians, but like those who support Ukraine would be able to comprehend the similarities, I guess. And nope, not at all. Not even... They didn't even skip a beat. They immediately were like, Russia is exactly like Gaza. Yeah. Ukraine needs that U.S. money. Yeah, that's really funny that you're saying that, because they went from, in the words of Gunther, okay, not me, NATO's greatest champion, a wonderful account that I only recently started following because I originally thought it's like, I'm not going to fucking follow every Chapo character that they find because, like, who cares? But honestly, Felix was right. Gunther is an incredible follow. Gunther Fehlinger, okay? In the words of Gunther Fehlinger, why are we taking money away from a defensive war in Ukraine to give it to an offensive war for Israel? That's what he said. That's what he said. He was like, this is, he was like, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. All the funds should keep flowing into Ukraine. That's a defensive war. And instead of like an offensive revenge war. Rare Gunther DLC unlocked. Yeah, Ukrainian President dick riding. Yeah, Zell Disney dick riding the US and NATO is hilarious because they've already made it clear that they're like, the funds are not endless, brother. Okay, you're not always getting these funds, and some of these funds got to go to Israel. Okay, and he's championing that right now. So good luck. Gunther is the best dude. Literally one of the top 5 funniest people on Twitter. I followed him after he started doing all his Balkan maps for BRICS members. Yeah, no, he is a fucking hilarious guy. He's always so happy. He loves NATO so much. He has been NATO's greatest champion. He's been NATO's greatest champion because like he's made me sympathetic, okay? Where's the one where he talks about the French? Oh, here. French trains are the best in Europe. You eat a sandwich.
Damn, this guy's good.